We bring greetings of peace, of love, and of blessings unto each of you. I want you to imagine being a child, bringing a young child with no grandparents. There is no grandmother and there is no grandfather. Your mother and father are deceased. They have all died of HIV, AIDS, cancer, or diabetes-related diseases. You do not have an auntie or an uncle, or if you do, they are away in other countries, not knowing that you even exist. And then I want you to imagine getting up in the morning to go to sleep at night, knowing that you are going to be alone. And then imagine going to school and having school up under a tree. And then picture yourself as being a child with no parents. So that means that when school is out, you would be at the mercy of any volunteer person that would take you home. Why am I saying this? Because this is the life of many of the children that we help and that we work with in the Bete Yisrael Foundation. I wanted to give you a better understanding of what it is that the Bete Yisrael Foundation do each day. We deal with children that have no family. Many of them have no home to go to. They are at the mercy of whoever would take them home for the day and feed them. And if not, if there is no one to do that, they would wander in the woods, in the desert, or wherever, from sun up to sundown. And they are alone. They are to find water wherever they can find it. The only clothing that they have is the clothing that is provided by strangers. And many people don't want to get involved. That is where the Bete Yisrael Foundation comes in at. We understand so well that many of these children are at the mercy and the compassion of total strangers. And this we do know. We have saw it with our own eyes. We have saw the suffering of these children. And many times, I've heard so many people say, if people are suffering like that, it is perhaps their fault. Maybe it is something that they did that has caused this great suffering. But what about the children? What about the children that are suffering? Can you actually blame them? Children are not asked to be born. Children do not have the opportunity before they are born to choose their parents. They don't even choose the country that they are born into or the land that they are going to live upon. They are the innocent victims. And whatever circumstances they are born into, they have to accept it as their way of life. So I so often say to people, as you are looking to find an excuse to try to figure out why many people are suffering, I want you to think about that the many peoples and the innocent victims are indeed the children. And no, they have done nothing. They have done absolutely nothing to deserve their suffering. That is where the Bete Yisrael Foundation comes in. Many places are underdeveloped countries, underdeveloped communities, where their children live a life that many of us could never imagine. We could never imagine the suffering that they go through. We could never imagine the pain that many of these children face each day. I oftentimes say that they are the strongest peoples in the world because I cannot imagine living like that. I cannot imagine knowing that if the kindness of strangers do not feed me for today, then I will not eat. Can you imagine if you or your child had to take a bath in water, and water that had dead carcasses in it, bones from dead cows, blood, and many times feces. And not only do they bathe in this water, they drink it. And this is the water they use to cook. And many of these children that have mothers are in countries where they don't have a husband. But either they are in a country where the women are treated less than a human being. Imagine being made to walk many, many, many miles just to fetch water and to come back home with a load upon your back just to find that you are going to be beat bloody by the man that you love. Imagine taking that water that is filthy and dirty, putting it on an old pot stove that is built from wood and fire, and then taking that dirty water with feces in it and cooking, washing your pots and pans with the same water, cooking and feeding your children, and then you have to go to bed that evening, sometimes with not even much of a roof over your head, knowing that there is no government that is going to help you. Many people that live in countries, they take it for granted because they have a government that is going to take care of them. They have a government that is not going to allow them to come to that state. But they take it for granted every day how blessed they are and how much someone else is suffering. Many other peoples in rural areas, in underdeveloped countries and villages, they don't have that luxury. There is no government giving them a check every month. What you have is what you have. And in many of the villages, they do have mothers and fathers, and they are rich in love. I have been to the villages and I have seen very strong families with very strong fathers, very strong mothers, but yet they have absolutely no money, no income, and no farming skills. And yet those children suffer. Yet that housewife suffers. And yet the man of the house is working hard to provide. But nothing he does It's bringing in enough food. It's bringing clean water. Why? Because a lot of it is not within his power to do so. And that is where the Bete Yisrael comes in. We help many of those communities to get clean water. We help them to buy farming supplies. We help them to get educated on how to grow their own crops, grow their own food, and how to take care of themselves so they can become self-sufficient. And I would say this, that there is not one dime of the money in the Bete Yisrael Foundation is spent on no one but those families that are suffering in underdeveloped countries. Doesn't matter if it is Africa or if it is Asia or where it is, because believe it or not, I am indeed a global public servant, and we receive calls all over the world, even for parts of America where there are very extremely poor families living there that are not eligible for any public assistance, but yet they are struggling to survive. So many of us, when we think of suffering at a great scale of level, we think of Africa. But it's not only Africa that is suffering. Many other countries and communities are faced with the exact same problem. So we go and we make sure they have the things they need to survive and to sustain life. Clean water is very important. Clean water means education. Clean water means a good meal. It means that many children are going to eat for the evening. And believe me, it costs a lot of money for the foundation to function. And we never ever come to the public and ask for money. Many times I have gone into my pocket and into my own money, and I have provided for many families in need. We have never ever even seen or touched a dime of the money, because I am happy to say 100% of it goes towards the cause of helping those families have a much better life. And I want to say this. My grandfather was the king of Africa. But I decided and I made up my mind that I wanted to change the face of leadership. I wanted to change the face of the king and of the queen. No longer will we continue to watch the suffering of others as we live a lifestyle that is ridiculous. What do I mean by ridiculous? Our society has been brainwashed to believe what it is to be a king or a queen. They believe that when you say you are a king or a queen, that means you wear a gold crown upon your head. You pay millions of dollars for that crown. The peoples did. And you live in a 35-room mansion with 100 cars parked out in front of it. That has been the whole idea behind being a king or a queen. Well, at Bete Yisrael, I am a real queen. I come from a real world family of Africa, West Africa. I have an island with my name on it. But yet, I have made up in my mind, I made my mind up that I am going to change the face of leadership. No longer will the peoples accept having a queen that is only cute and pretty and beautiful with a pretty crown upon their head, while those children lie dying on the ground from malnutrition. No longer will the peoples accept that their headship is living in $1 billion home while the people sleep on the ground because they are homeless. No longer will the peoples accept the old concept and the old idea of what it takes to be a king or a queen. We have made up our mind at the Bete Yisrael African Federation and the foundations that we are changing the face of leadership. It would be leadership that will be the way that leadership was meant to be in the first place. To take care of the peoples, to love them, to honor them, and to respect them for the beautiful peoples that they are. So we want to say welcome to our website. We are glad that you are here. And we pray the blessings of the Creator upon your lives. And we do thank you for your time. And keep in mind that we are all blessed. But those of us that are more blessed than others should share that blessing. Salam.